The trade deadline is now less than 48 hours away for the Ontario Hockey League. So let's take a look at the week that was leading up to where we are right now. And I'm just going to let you know that I'm recording this before any trades happen before the overager trade deadline. The last trade that I reported on was the Bronson Ride trade to the North Bay Battalion. So if there's any trades that come about after the posting of my power rankings video, I will put up a video just to recap the trade and just give my thoughts on it. So expect that from the sounds of it, I think we've got a few trades on the way. But let's get to the power rankings first and look at where the teams stand here at January 8th. Starting off with the Peterborough Petes, they fell 3 positions. They went 0-3 last week, and they had a road trip through Sarnia, Flint, and Saginaw. And they just have 1 win in their last 10 games. So things kind of falling off with the Peterborough Petes. Kind of expected when they are trading players away right now with the trade deadline coming up. And we expected this, especially with the team winning the championship last year. They had a lot of veterans on this team, and they don't have a lot of draft picks. So they're restocking their cupboard, getting younger, and now the younger talent will take over post-trade deadline. So for the Peterborough Petes, they got the trade deadline started sending Connor Smith and Sam McHugh to the Owen Sound Attack, and they've also sent off Sam Maillet to Ottawa and Jax Dubois to Kingston. So they are unloading, and they're not done yet. And we're still waiting for the big Owen Beck trade. There's been a lot of speculation surrounding him, and from what I'm hearing, it will be a Western Conference team that'll pick up Owen Beck. We just have to wait and see which one, because it's a bit of a bidding war right now for Owen Beck's services, and then a couple of players saying they don't want to go to certain teams. So we're waiting for all that to be sorted out. But in the end, Owen Beck should be a member of a team in the Western Conference. Now, the Petes, they only have 2 games this week. They're home to the Kingston Frontenacs and the Oshawa Generals. Number 19, the Sarnia Sting, they moved up 1 position. They had a good week. They went 2-0-1, and they're 3 points behind Flint for the final playoff spot in the Western Conference. Sarnia, another team looking to the future. They traded away Andrew and Jacob LeBlanc, along with Sandis Filmanis to the North Bay Battalion. They did pick up Alex Kajovic from the Battalion, and he had a decent debut with the Sting yesterday in Guelph, where he was a +1 in the loss to the Storm, but he registered a shot. So Kajovic making his presence known early on with the Sarnia Sting, and I think it's a really good pickup for them going forward. Now the Sting, they're at home to London this week, and the Sudbury Wolves before traveling to Mississauga on Sunday. Number 18, we have the Niagara Ice Dogs, so no change from last week. The Ice Dogs, they were 1-0-1 last week, and Mike Levin, he stood out. He scored 3 goals in those 2 games. And for Niagara, they traded Bronson Ride to the North Bay Battalion, and they got a pretty good return, I feel, for the defenseman. They picked up goaltender Charlie Robertson and 5 draft picks, so they're restocking for the future. And Charlie Robertson, I know his numbers are a little off from what we saw last year with North Bay, so I think he is a pretty good goaltender, and I wouldn't be surprised. Him and Flores should be able to get the job done for the rest of the season and then looking to the future. Niagara, they are right now in the middle of a 6-game homestand, and they play 2 more home games this week against Barrie and Flint. Number 17, we have the Mississauga Steelheads down another spot. They were leading the Central Division for quite some time, and now they're falling behind. They went 1-2 last week. They picked up overager Dean Lucas from the Saginaw Spirit for 2 draft picks. In his debut with Mississauga, an assist against the London Knights, and that was a -3 again in the loss to the Brantford Bulldogs. So Dean Lucas, I think it's going to take a bit for him to get accustomed to the Mississauga Steelheads. He was heating up with Saginaw just before the trade, so expect him to bounce back and help Mississauga as they make their push to try and get home ice advantage in the first round of the playoffs. For Mississauga, they traveled north this week. They're going to be in Sudbury and North Bay, and that starts on Wednesday, and then they're back home on Sunday to face the Sarnia Sting. At number 16, we have the Barrie Colts. They are up 3 positions this week. It was a tough 3-3 for them, but they went 1-2. That 1 win, though, against the Sioux Greyhounds, not the team we were expecting them to get a win against. They were down 1-0 going into the 3rd period in that game, and then put up 5 unanswered in the 3rd period, including 2 goals from Jacob Frasca, who was then traded to the Greyhounds. The Colts, they did get back Brendan Sirazati and 3 draft picks in the Frasca deal, so I think it's a pretty good return for them. The Barrie Colts, 3 points out of a playoff spot right now in the Eastern Conference, and I think the goal-scoring capabilities of Sirazati should help them out as they look to continue that push for the postseason. The Barrie Colts, they are on the road this week. They're in Erie and Niagara starting Wednesday before hosting the Brantford Bulldogs on Saturday. Number 15, we have the Kingston Frontenacs. They fell one position this week. They went 1-1. They had a shutout. They were shut out rather by Mississauga 4-0. And then they got an OT win over the Ottawa 67s. Gabriel Vraska, he was the hero in that game. Kingston, they do look to be buyers at the trade deadline. They've already picked up Jax Dubois from the Peterborough Petes for 3 draft picks. Dubois and the France, they will be in Peterborough on Thursday night before home and home with the Oshawa Generals. So I think for Kingston, this is a team looking to make a push for that East Division because it's wide open. And I do like the looks of this Kingston team right now. But we'll have to wait and see what they do at the trade deadline, which, of course, is noon on Wednesday. Number 14, we have the Windsor Spitfires. They're up one position. Windsor, they went 1-1 last week. They had their 6-game point streak snapped by Niagara in a 5-2 loss yesterday. The Windsor Spitfires, they've been playing much better. They're 5 points right now behind Flint for the final playoff spot in the West, and you can't take this team lightly. Casey Torres, he's done a great job turning this team around since being named interim head coach. For Windsor, they do have 2 home games this week. They're at home to the Saginaw Spirit and then the Sudbury Wolves. So those are 2 very tough opponents, and we'll see what Windsor is capable of as they try to make the playoffs. At number 13, it's the Flint Firebirds, down one position. It's been a steady fall in the power rankings for Flint. They went 1-2 last week, and they lost 10-2 Saturday against the Oshawa Generals, so not the performance they were going for. The Firebirds, though, they are in a sell mode. They've already traded away Braden Kressler to the Ottawa 67s and Gavin Hayes to the Sioux Greyhounds, but I do like the return they got in that Greyhounds deal. Bringing in Connor Clattenburg and Alex Kostov from the Greyhounds. I know they don't have a lot of points this season, but it's the future that you're looking towards. Clattenburg and Kostov, I think they will be a part of this core going forward, and we could be looking as early as next year when Kostov especially will be able to put up the points and help lead this Firebirds team back into the postseason. The Firebirds, they are at home Wednesday before traveling to Niagara and Erie. On Wednesday night, they're hosting the Owen Sound Attack. Speaking of the Owen Sound Attack, they come in at number 12. They're up one position this week. The Attack, they went 2-1 and they're 3-3 this weekend. Unfortunately, they lost 5-2 to Guelph when they were wearing those beautiful Owen Sound gray jerseys. Those throwbacks, if you have not yet seen them, you got to look it up. I did a video a couple weeks ago talking about the announcement of the new throwback jerseys, and the story behind them is really cool because they were looking at old photos of the Owen Sound Grays who won the Memorial Cup. However, those pictures are all black and white, so they had to do some studying and research to figure out the colors, and I don't know if they got it exactly right, but I think they look great. They're the barber pole jerseys. The Attack, let's get back on track here. Owen Sound, they were the first team to make a splash ahead of the OHL trade deadline. They picked up Connor Smith and Sam McHugh from the Peterborough Petes. Smith, he had a goal and 2 assists in his first 3 games with Owen Sound, while McHugh, a goal and an assist. So they're fitting in quite nicely. The Attack, they are in Flint Wednesday, and then they host Ottawa Saturday before going to London Sunday afternoon. Number 11, we have the Erie Otters. They fell 2 positions this week. Not the greatest of weeks for Erie. They went 1-2. Their one win was in a shootout. That was against the Windsor Spitfires. So we'll see if the Otters, they can turn things around. They host Barrie on Wednesday before traveling to Kitchener Friday, and then they host Flint on Saturday. At number 10, it's the Ottawa 67s. No change for them. Same place as last week. It's been a very tough stretch for Ottawa. They went 0-1 last week, and their losing streak has hit 6 games. They did pick up Braden Kressler from Flint and then Sam Maillet from Peterborough for draft picks. And this is just a sign, I think, that they see the East Division is wide open, and why not take a run for it? They have been dealing with injuries, so once they're healthy, this team could be a threat in the East. They've been missing their goaltender Colin McKenzie, who last played December 17th. They also have Donoso, who's been solid between the pipes, but McKenzie has had some great numbers, and for Ottawa, just looking to get healthy. It is another tough week for them. They have a 3-3 all on the road, stops in Brantford, Owen Sound, and Kitchener, so it's not getting any easier for Ottawa. At number 9, we have the Brantford Bulldogs. They fell 4 positions. The northern trip was not kind for them. They lost to North Bay and Sudbury, but they returned home to take out the Mississauga Steelheads 4-2. So they ended the week with a winning note. Nick Lardis now 3rd in goals in the OHL at 29. He has 5 points in his last two games. The Bulldogs, they're at home Friday against the Ottawa 67s. That's a big matchup for the East Division. And then they travel to Barrie on Saturday. At number 8, we have the Guelph Storm. They fell 2 positions. They did go 2-1 this week. Their only loss was against the Sioux Greyhounds. So Guelph, despite falling in the power rankings, they did have a good week. They earned a 3-2 win in overtime against Sarnia yesterday, where Braden Bowman, he was the hero, and the Storm captain, right now riding a 6-game point streak. So don't count out Guelph. Still waiting to find out if Matthew Poitras comes back or not to the Guelph Storm. Right now, he is in Boston, so it sounds like the Bruins may keep him, and I think that's going to be having an impact on the trade deadline this week. So we're still waiting to see what the Guelph Storm do. Are they going to be buyers, sellers, or do they stand pat? Because it's already a stacked Western Conference. For the Guelph Storm, they are on the road for 2 games this week, and it is not an easy road trip. It starts in Sault Ste. Marie and ends in Saginaw, so the top 2 teams in the West Division. Coming in at number 7, we have the North Bay Battalion. No change from last week. The Battalion, they are going all in this year. They were 2-1 last week, and they made 2 significant trades with Sarnia and Niagara. First, they picked up Andrew and Jacob LeBlanc and Sandis Vilmanis from the Sarnia Sting, and then Bronson Ride from the Niagara Ice Dogs. The LeBlanc twins, they did make their debut yesterday with the troops, but they didn't record any points in the 3-2 loss against the Kitchener Rangers. So North Bay, they see that the Eastern Conference is open. However, I think the Sudbury Wolves at this point are still the favorites, but North Bay looking to challenge them for a top spot in the Central. And why not? You've got Dom DiVincentis, who's shown that he can be a number 1 goaltender in the OHL. His numbers have stepped back a bit. He did have that injury back in the fall. So we're waiting to see if Dom DiVincentis will come back into that form that we saw a year ago. And then you've got Ty Nelson, and you're going to pair him up with a player like Bronson Ride. Ride, of course, that giant defenseman at the back end, kind of a stay-at-home defenseman. A good pairing with Ty Nelson, who's very offensive first. So we'll see what North Bay is capable of. I don't know if they're going to make any more trades between now and the deadline. I'm not hearing anything at this point, but anything is possible. So for the Battalion, they host Mississauga Thursday, and then they're going to play in Sault Ste. Marie on Saturday. At number 6, we have the Sioux Greyhounds. They fell 2 positions this week. They went 2-1, but gave up 5 unanswered goals and a 5-1 loss to Barrie, and they only beat the Oshawa Generals by a score of 1-0 to start the road trip. However, they are missing key pieces from their lineups. They were not totally healthy, and not everyone was back from the World Juniors yet, so that is a factor in the results last week. But they did pick up Jacob Frasca from the Colts and Gavin Hayes from the Flint Firebirds. I think those are 2 fantastic pickups. Jacob Frasca, great in the face-off dot. Missing a lot of time, though, because of a hip injury during the month at the end of November and through December. So I think Frasca will fit in well with the Sioux Greyhounds. And then when you have Gavin Hayes playing with his brother Travis, I think they're going to have a lot of fun. The brothers playing together in Sault Ste. Marie and challenging for top spot in the Western Conference. So the Greyhounds, they play 2 games at home this week. They're first against the Guelph Storm and then North Bay. At number 5, we have the Sudbury Wolves. They're up 3 positions this week. Sudbury, they went 2-0, and they put up 14 goals in those 2 wins against Brantford and Kitchener. However, they were behind 4-1 after the first period, so they did not get a good start against Kitchener, which is kind of concerning, but they did come back to win in the third period. So they did get the victory against Kitchener, the top team in the Ontario Hockey League, but still, defense, that's the question mark. And we have not yet heard any moves involving the Sudbury Wolves yet at the time of recording this video. I'm sure that's going to change soon because from what I'm hearing, the Sudbury Wolves are almost calling every team in the OHL to see who may be available. So if they don't make any moves, it's not because they didn't try. They're making the phone calls and trying to turn over every stone to see who they can bring to the Nickel City. For the Sudbury Wolves, they've also earned points in their last 6 games, 1 loss in regulation over their last 10 games. So they're playing some fantastic hockey, and they have a 2-point lead over Brantford for first in the East. The Sudbury Wolves, they do host Mississauga Wednesday, and then they're going to travel to Sarnia and Windsor this weekend. Number 4, we have the Oshawa Generals, the biggest climb this week, 7 positions. They were hot this last week. They went 2-1, and they benefited from some teams falling around them in the power rankings, but they held the Sault Ste. Marie Greyhounds to just 1 goal in a 1-0 loss last Wednesday, and then they put up 10 goals against the Flint Firebirds before winning 5-1 on the road in Saginaw. The Dow Event Center, not an easy place to get wins right now, and the Oshawa Generals found a way. This could be the highest they rank in the power rankings, but they've been playing really well since Callum Ritchie came back from his injury, and Jacob Oster now in the top 5 in both goals against average and save percentage. So they're getting the goaltending. The offense is starting to click. They do play a 3-3 this week, starting in Kingston Thursday before traveling to Peterborough and then hosting the Kingston Frontenac. So we'll see if Oshawa can continue the strong play. At number 3, the Saginaw Spirit. They fell 2 positions. They were number 1 in the power rankings for the last 5 weeks. So that means we have a new team at number 1. The Spirit, they went 2-1 with a win on the road against Kitchener. They also traded away Dean Locust to Mississauga to make room for former Spirit captain Josh Bloom, who was sent down by the Vancouver Canucks. And if you didn't see the video talking about the Saginaw roster moves, I explained the whole situation and how Josh Bloom can be back with Saginaw. He didn't register any points in the 2 games that he played, but he put up 7 shots in the game against Peterborough and another 4 shots in the game against Oshawa. So the offensive capabilities are there. He's just waiting to get the points. The Spirit, though, they're in Windsor and London for hosting the Guelph Storm on Saturday. At number 2, it's the Kitchener Rangers, same position as last week. I thought about having the Rangers lower in the standings because they went 1-2 last week, but I decided to let them stay here at number 2 for now. They lost 3-2 to Saginaw and then 7-5 to Sudbury, so close games against 2 very good teams in the Ontario Hockey League. But there are concerns about Kitchener. They were up 4-1 after that first period against the Wolves and then just seemed to let up and let Sudbury get back into that hockey game. Also, the physical play kind of missing with Kitchener. So that's something that I'm sure Mike McKenzie will look to address before the OHL trade deadline, because with playoff hockey, it gets very physical and you can't take your foot off the gas against some of these big teams. So this could just serve as a wake-up call for Kitchener. They did end the week with a win against North Bay. But we'll see what happens with the Rangers going forward. They only have 2 games this week, both at home against Erie and Ottawa. So that leaves us with number 1. It's the London Knights. They are up 2 positions this week. Can London be stopped right now? They went 3-0 last week, and their winning streak has reached 9 games. They have a chance to extend their winning streak to 10 tomorrow, or on Wednesday, rather, against Sarnia. Denver Barkey, he is rolling right now, points in 5 of his last 6 games. He also leads the OHL in shorthanded goals with 6, and they'll also be getting Casper Haltonen back from the World Juniors, who just happens to lead the lead in power play goals with 12. So they've got number 1 in shorthanded goals and number 1 in power play goals. So things looking up for the London Knights. As I mentioned, they're going to be in Sarnia Wednesday before hosting Saginaw and Owen Sound. So that's the power rankings for January 8th. Let me know in the comments section down below your thoughts on the power rankings. And don't forget to like and subscribe. And a reminder, we do have the OHL trade deadline coming up on Wednesday, and we'll have a live stream there. So we'll talk to you again soon. And thanks again for tuning in.